Captain Day stood on the bridge of the olive branch and watched the stars pass by. His ship moved quietly through space, carrying art and music to the Vex homeworld. It was a simple mission, a peaceful mission, the kind of mission that Earth had been doing for 100 years now. "Captain, we'll arrive at the Vex system in 2 hours," said Lieutenant J from the navigation station. The young officer smiled as he spoke. He was excited. This was his first diplomatic mission, and he wanted everything to be perfect. Day nodded and walked to the window. He could see other ships nearby, trading vessels from a dozen different alien species, all of them flying peacefully through this sector of space. No one feared attack here. No one expected danger. Those days were long gone. Dr. G walked onto the bridge carrying a data pad. She was the ship's xenobiologist and the person in charge of the cultural exchange program. "Captain, I've been reviewing the presentation one more time. I think the Vex will really appreciate the human paintings we brought, especially the ones showing nature and harmony." "I hope so," Day replied. "Ambassador Hana said this mission is important. The Vex have been expanding their territory lately. If we can show them the value of peaceful cooperation, maybe they'll choose diplomacy instead of conquest." G sat down at her station and pulled up images of Earth on her screen. Green forests, blue oceans, cities where people of all nations lived together in harmony. It was hard to believe that just 100 years ago, Earth had been at war with itself. The unification wars had killed billions of people. Nations had burned. Entire continents had been devastated, but humanity had learned from those dark days. They had put down their weapons and chosen a different path. Now, Earth was known across the galaxy as a place of artists, teachers, and peacemakers. Human diplomats helped solve conflicts between alien species. Human traders were fair and honest. Human soldiers existed only to guard Earth and its 3 small colony worlds. "Do you ever think about the old days?" Jay asked suddenly. He was looking at the same images on his own screen. "The wars, I mean, before the peace." Day was quiet for a moment. His grandfather had fought in the final battles of the unification wars. The old man rarely talked about it, but when he did, his eyes would fill with tears. "I think about it sometimes," Day said. "My grandfather told me that war is humanity's greatest shame. He said we must never forget what we were capable of, so we never become that again." "Earth Defense Force regulations require all officers to study military history," G added. She had been listening to their conversation. "I had to take those classes at the academy. Some of the tactics our ancestors used were terrifying. The weapons they built, the strategies they developed. It's hard to believe humans did those things." "That's why we keep it in the past," Day said firmly. "We're different now. Better." The olive branch continued its journey. Inside its cargo holds were crates of human art, music recordings, and samples of Earth's finest cultural achievements. There were paintings showing peaceful landscapes. There were sculptures celebrating cooperation and unity. There were musical compositions that brought tears to the eyes of anyone who listened. This was what humanity offered the galaxy now. Not weapons, not threats, just beauty and wisdom, and the hope for peace. 2 hours later, the ship entered Vex space. The Vex were a warrior species. Their empire stretched across 20 star systems. They had powerful warships and millions of soldiers. Other alien species feared them, but they hadn't attacked anyone in over a decade. Earth hoped that meeting with them, showing them peaceful alternatives, might help them change. "We're being hailed," Jay reported. "It's a Vex military cruiser." "Put them on screen," Day ordered. A Vex officer appeared on the main display. He had gray armored skin and cold eyes that seemed to look right through Day. "Human vessel. State your purpose." "This is Captain Day of the Earth ship, Olive Branch. We're here on a diplomatic mission. We have clearance from your government for a cultural exchange program." The Vex officer checked something off-screen, then nodded. Clearance confirmed. Proceed to orbit. Do not deviate from the approved flight path. The screen went dark. Jay let out a breath he'd been holding. They're not very friendly, are they? Warriors rarely are, G said. But that's okay. We're not here to make friends in one day. We're here to plant seeds, to show them there's another way. The olive branch moved into orbit around the Vex homeworld. It was a harsh planet with red deserts and sharp mountains. Cities covered the surface, all of them built like fortresses. Even from space, Day could see military installations everywhere. Over the next 3 days, the crew held presentations for Vex officials. They showed them human art. They played human music. They talked about Earth's transformation from a world of war to a world of peace. Some Vex seemed interested. Others looked bored or even amused. On the 4th day, Ambassador Hana arrived from Earth for the final ceremony. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes. She had spent 40 years working for peace across the galaxy. She had negotiated treaties, stopped conflicts, and saved countless lives through diplomacy. The ceremony was held in a large hall on the Vex homeworld. Day and his crew stood at attention as Hana presented a gift to the Vex leadership. It was a sculpture made of crystal, showing 2 hands clasped together. This represents our hope, Hana said to the assembled Vex officials. A hope that all species can work together, that we can build instead of destroy, that peace can be stronger than war. Warlord Kreth, the supreme military commander of the Vex, picked up the sculpture and examined it. He was huge, even for a Vex, with scars covering his armor. He turned the sculpture over in his massive hands, then set it down carefully. "It is beautiful," Kreth said. His voice was deep and rough. "Your people make beautiful things, Ambassador. Beautiful art, beautiful ships, beautiful words." He paused, and something changed in his eyes, something cold. "But beauty is not strength. Art is not power. You humans have forgotten what it takes to survive in this galaxy." Hana's smile didn't waver. "We haven't forgotten, Warlord. We've simply chosen a different path." "A weak path," Kreth replied. He walked away from the sculpture without looking back. The ceremony ended shortly after, and the humans returned to their ship. In space, as the olive branch prepared to leave Vex territory, Day stood at the window again. Something felt wrong. He couldn't explain it, but his instincts were telling him that the mission hadn't gone as planned. "Captain?" G approached him. "Are you okay?" "I don't know," Day admitted. "Did you see the way Kreth looked at us? At the sculpture? It wasn't respect. It was contempt," G finished. "I saw it too. He thinks we're weak." Back on Earth, in the beautiful cities built after the wars ended, people went about their peaceful lives. They had no idea that across the galaxy, in a fortress on a red desert world, Warlord Kreth was making plans. Plans that would test everything humanity had become. Plans that would remind the galaxy what humans once were before they chose peace. The stars continued to shine, beautiful and cold and uncaring, and somewhere in the darkness between them, something ancient and terrible waited. Not a monster from outside, but something that lived in the human heart, something that had been sleeping for 100 years, something that was about to wake up. 3 weeks after the olive branch returned to Earth, every communication channel in human space received the same message. It came from Warlord Kreth himself, broadcast on every frequency, impossible to ignore or block. Governor Mina sat in her office on Terra Nova when the transmission started. Terra Nova was Earth's largest colony world, home to 8 million people. Most of them were farmers, scientists, and teachers. They had built a peaceful society among the rolling green hills and clear blue lakes. It was a good place to raise children, Mina often thought. A safe place. The screen on her wall flickered and Kreth's face appeared. Behind him, she could see the bridge of a massive warship. Humans of Earth, the warlord began. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath it. For 100 years, you have played at peace. You have spread across the galaxy like children in a garden, picking flowers and singing songs. This ends now. Mina felt her blood run cold. She activated her emergency protocols, sending alerts to the Colonial Defense Force and Earth simultaneously. You will surrender your 3 colony worlds to Vex authority, Kreth continued. You will provide us with your resources, your technology, and your labor. In return, we will allow Earth itself to remain independent. You have 72 hours to accept these terms. If you refuse, the image changed, showing recordings of 2 alien worlds. Both were dead. Their surfaces were blackened and lifeless, their cities melted to glass. This is what happens to those who refuse the Vex Dominion. The transmission ended. Mina sat in silence for a long moment, her hands shaking. Then her communication console exploded with incoming calls. Other governors, military officers, panicked citizens. Everyone wanted answers. Everyone wanted to know what Earth would do. On Earth, in the capital city of Geneva, Ambassador Hanna stood before the Planetary Council. Every leader of Earth was present, either in person or by hologram. The room was full of worried voices, all talking at once. We must negotiate, one counselor said. Offer them trade agreements, technology sharing, whatever they want that doesn't involve surrender. We should appeal to the Galactic Assembly, another suggested. Surely the other species will help us. They can't just let the Vex take our colonies. Hanna shook her head slowly. I've already contacted the Assembly. They've expressed their concern, but they won't intervene. The Vex military is too powerful. Every species is afraid of becoming the next target. Admiral Tay, commander of the Earth Defense Force, stood up. He was an old man now, but his back was straight and his eyes were sharp. Then we defend ourselves. The Earth Defense Force has 300 ships. We have orbital defense platforms around each colony. We have trained soldiers. Against the Vex? Someone laughed bitterly. They have 10,000 warships. They've conquered 20 star systems. Our defense force exists to patrol trade routes and stop pirates, not fight a galactic empire. Then what do you suggest? Tay's voice was hard. That we surrender? Give up 8 million people on Terra Nova? 2 million on New Sol? Another million on Haven Station? The council fell into arguments. Some wanted to negotiate. Some wanted to fight. Some wanted to evacuate the colonies and retreat to Earth. Hours passed with no decision made. Captain Day watched the news feeds from the Olive Branch, still in orbit around Earth. The ship was supposed to launch for another diplomatic mission the next day, but that had been canceled. Now his crew waited, unsure of what would happen next. Lieutenant Jay sat beside him, reading reports on his datapad. Captain, I've been looking at the Vex military records, public ones, I mean, the ones they share to intimidate other species. And, Day asked, they're incredibly powerful, but there's something strange. Their tactics are straightforward, almost brutally simple. Overwhelming force, direct assaults, no subtlety. They win through superior numbers and better weapons, not through strategy. Dr. G joined them. That makes sense. Warrior cultures often value direct confrontation over clever tactics. They see anything else as cowardly. Maybe, Jay said quietly. Or maybe they've never faced an opponent who could match their strength, so they've never needed to develop better tactics. Day looked at his young officer with new respect. That's an interesting observation, but it doesn't help us. We don't have their strength. On Terra Nova, Governor Mina ordered an evacuation. Not everyone could leave. There weren't enough ships, but she focused on children first, then civilians with specialized skills. The transport ships filled up and launched toward Earth, carrying frightened refugees who looked back at the world they were leaving behind. Professor Ho, Earth's leading historian of the pre-peace era, gave an emergency lecture that was broadcast across all human worlds. He stood in front of images from the unification wars, destroyed cities, armies locked in terrible combat, weapons that could crack continents. "This is what we were," Ho said, his voice heavy with emotion. "This is what we left behind. The question before us now is simple. Will we let ourselves become this again? Or will we find another way?" But there was no other way. The 72 hours passed with no agreement reached. Earth sent a message to Warlord Kreth, asking for more time to negotiate, asking for mercy. Kreth's response was broadcast across the galaxy. "Mercy is what the strong give to the weak who submit. You have not submitted. Therefore, you will learn what defiance costs." The Vex fleet appeared above Terra Nova without warning. 50 massive warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel and immediately opened fire. They didn't target military installations. They didn't target government buildings. They targeted the evacuation sites where thousands of civilians waited for transport ships. The orbital defense platforms fought back desperately. They managed to destroy 3 Vex ships before being overwhelmed and destroyed themselves. The small defense force of patrol ships charged the enemy fleet, knowing they couldn't win but buying time for evacuation ships to escape. Governor Mina stayed at her post, coordinating the evacuation even as explosions shook the building. She sent out the last transport ship, packed beyond capacity with crying children and terrified parents. Then she ordered everyone else to get to the shelters. The bombardment lasted for 6 hours. When it finally stopped, 15,000 people were dead. Entire cities had been reduced to rubble. The evacuation sites were craters. The Vex fleet left without sending a single soldier to the surface. They didn't want to conquer Terra Nova. They wanted to send a message. On Earth, people gathered in the streets to watch the news feeds. They saw the images of destruction. They saw the bodies. They saw Governor Mina giving a final transmission before her building collapsed around her. She survived, but barely. Ambassador Hana stood before the cameras, tears streaming down her face. "We offered peace. We offered cooperation. We offered every alternative to violence. They responded with murder, with the slaughter of innocents." She paused, wiping her eyes. "The Galactic Assembly has failed us. Diplomacy has failed us. We are alone." That night, something changed on Earth. In the streets, the crowds fell silent. The arguments stopped. People looked at each other with new understanding. They had tried peace. They had tried negotiation. They had been reasonable, patient, and kind, and it hadn't mattered. In his office, Admiral Tay received an encrypted message from the Planetary Council. It contained a single sentence. "Open the sealed installations. Wake them up." Tay sat still for a long moment, then stood and walked to his window. He looked out at Geneva, at the beautiful, peaceful city built after the wars. He thought about his parents, who had died in the unification wars. He thought about his oath to never let humanity become warriors again. Then he thought about 15,000 dead civilians on Terra Nova, about children who would never grow up, about Governor Mina buried in rubble, rescued by chance while thousands around her died. He returned to his desk and sent out the orders. Across Earth, in hidden places deep underground and in remote locations, old systems came online. Sealed doors opened for the first time in a century. Lights flickered on in facilities that had been dark since the peace began. Every human diplomat withdrew from the Galactic Assembly. Every human ambassador returned home. Every human ship in alien space was recalled. Earth went silent. The galaxy watched nervously, wondering what the peaceful humans would do now. They didn't have to wait long to find out. In a military museum in Tokyo, General Na stood before a memorial wall. Her name was there, from when she was young. She had been a soldier in the final battles of the Unification Wars. She was 140 years old now, and she had hoped to die in peace. Her communication device chimed. It was Admiral Tay. "General, we need you. Earth needs you." Na looked at the wall one more time, at all the names of soldiers who had died, hoping their sacrifice would bring lasting peace. "I'm sorry," she whispered to them. "We tried. We really tried." Then she turned and walked toward the exit, toward whatever came next, leaving the peace behind. General Na walked through the underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. The lights had just come on after 100 years of darkness. Dust covered everything, but the equipment hummed with power. It had been maintained remotely all this time, kept ready for a day everyone hoped would never come. "How many people know about this place?" she asked Admiral Tay, who walked beside her. "7, Tay replied. "The Planetary Council, myself, and now you. This is one of 47 sealed installations across Earth and the Moon. Each one contains technology we developed during the Unification Wars, but never deployed." They entered a massive room filled with manufacturing equipment. Robotic arms hung from the ceiling. Dormant, but ready. Assembly lines stretched into the distance. "This single facility can produce 50 warships per month," Tay explained. "At full capacity, all 47 installations can rebuild Earth's entire military in less than a year." Na stopped walking. "You mean we've had this capability the whole time? For 100 years?" "Yes. The council leaders who negotiated the final peace treaty made a decision. They would pursue peace genuinely and completely, but they would also prepare for the possibility that peace might fail. So they built these facilities, sealed them, and passed the secret down from council to council." Tay looked around the enormous room. "We hoped we'd never open them. We were wrong." In another facility beneath the Gobi Desert, Dr. Leah stood in her laboratory for the first time in decades. She was a weapons researcher, though she hadn't thought of herself that way in years. After the peace, she had moved into medical technology, developing nanobots that could cure diseases and repair injuries. But medical nanobots could do other things, too. "The delivery system is already perfected," she explained to a group of military officers on a video call. "We developed it to treat cancer patients. It can target specific cell types with incredible precision. But the same system could deliver other payloads, toxins, disruptors, even microscopic explosives." She paused, uncomfortable with what she was saying. "I never wanted to use my work this way. But if we must fight, we can at least fight precisely. No civilian casualties, no collateral damage." Commander Sung sat in the Intelligence Division headquarters, going through files that had been collecting dust for decades. His division had never stopped operating, even during the peace. While humanity's diplomats had been making friends across the galaxy, his agents had been watching, recording, learning. "Pull up the Vex military database," he ordered his staff. Screens filled with information, fleet positions, command structures, supply routes, weaknesses. "Sir, how do we have all this?" a young analyst asked. "Every cultural exchange mission, every trade negotiation, every diplomatic visit. Our people were trained to observe and remember. Captain Day and his crew on the Olive Branch weren't just carrying art to the Vex. They were scanning their military installations, recording their security protocols, mapping their territory." Sung smiled without humor. "The Vex thought we were naive children. They let us walk right into their most secure facilities. They showed us everything. Across Earth, recruitment centers opened. Millions of people volunteered, not out of hatred or bloodlust, but out of cold determination. They had watched the recordings from Terra Nova. They had seen what happened to people who chose peace while others chose war. Lieutenant J was one of the first to volunteer for combat training. He reported to a facility in South Korea where he found something surprising. The instructors weren't teaching them how to fight. They already knew that. Instead, they were teaching them how to think like warriors. "Fighting is easy," the instructor said. Her name was Colonel Hay, and she had been a Special Forces operative during the Unification Wars. Any fool can pull a trigger. Any idiot can launch a missile. Real warriors understand tactics, strategy, patience, precision. She showed them historical battles from Earth's past, naval warfare from the 20th century, guerrilla tactics from the 21st, the sophisticated cyber warfare that had marked the Unification Wars. Our ancestors learned these lessons with blood. You will learn them from study, and then you will improve on them. Captain Day found himself reassigned to the new Earth Retaliation Fleet. His ship, the Olive Branch, was being retrofitted. The cargo holds that had carried art were being converted to weapons bays. The diplomatic meeting rooms were becoming tactical centers. "It feels wrong," he told Dr. G, who had also been reassigned to his ship. "We built this vessel for peace. We built it for humanity's survival," G corrected gently. "Peace was how we chose to survive. Now we need a different method, but the goal is the same. Protect humanity. Protect our future." The transformation took exactly 72 hours, the same amount of time the Vex had given them to surrender. It was deliberate. Earth wanted to send a message of its own. On the third day, General Na stood before every communication device on Earth and every human colony. She wore a military uniform that hadn't been seen in a century. Behind her were Admiral Tay and the leaders of the Planetary Council. "People of Earth, citizens of our colonies, humans across the galaxy." Her voice was strong despite her age. 3 days ago, the Vex Dominion murdered 15,000 of our people. They did this to show us they were strong, to demonstrate their power, to make us afraid. She paused, and her expression hardened. They succeeded in showing us their strength, but they failed in everything else. We are not afraid. We are angry. And anger, properly channeled, is not weakness. It is fuel. The camera pulled back to show the facility behind her. Assembly lines working at full speed. Ships being built, soldiers training. For 100 years we have been peaceful, not because we were weak, not because we forgot how to fight, but because we chose peace. We chose to be better than our violent past. We worked to build a galaxy where everyone could thrive. General Na stepped forward, her eyes seeming to look directly at every person watching. The Vex have shown us that the galaxy is not ready for peace, that there are still those who mistake kindness for weakness, who see mercy as an invitation to attack. So we will teach them a lesson we hoped never to teach again. Behind her, a massive warship lifted off from a launch facility. It was followed by another, then dozens more. We remember how to fight. We remember every tactic, every strategy, every lesson our ancestors learned. And in 100 years of peace, we've had time to perfect them, to make them better, cleaner, more precise. The camera shifted to show weapons testing. Missiles that could hit a target the size of a coin from orbit. Energy weapons that could slice through armor without affecting anything nearby. Defensive systems that could track and destroy thousands of incoming projectiles simultaneously. The Vex thought they were showing us the cost of defiance. Instead, they have shown us the necessity of strength. We offered them peace. They chose war. So now they will learn what humanity becomes when peace is not an option. General Na's expression softened slightly. But let me be clear. We will not become monsters. We will not target civilians. We will not glass worlds or commit genocide. We will fight with honor, with precision, and with the full knowledge that every life we take is a tragedy, even enemy lives, even Vex lives. She straightened, and her voice grew hard again. But we will win, because we must, because our survival depends on it, because the galaxy needs to understand that peace without strength is merely surrender waiting to happen. The image changed to show Admiral Tay. This message is being broadcast on every frequency. The Galactic Assembly will hear it. The Vex will hear it. Every species in known space will hear it. You had 100 years to learn about humanity. You learned about our art, our music, our poetry. You learned that we valued peace above all else. Tay's eyes were cold. But you never asked about our history. You never studied the unification wars. You never asked how a species capable of such terrible warfare could achieve such complete peace. The answer is simple. We didn't forget how to fight. We just chose to stop. There's a difference. The camera returned to General Na. To the Vex Dominion we say this. You have 72 hours to withdraw from Terra Nova and all other territories you have taken from peaceful species. After that time, we will come for you, not to conquer, not to enslave, but to remove your threat permanently. She looked directly into the camera, and every human watching felt the weight of her words. To the galaxy, we say this. We regret what we must become. But we will not apologize for surviving. We will not apologize for protecting the innocent, and we will not stop until the threat is eliminated. The transmission ended. For a moment, the galaxy was silent. Then the responses began flooding in. Some species expressed support. Others condemned humanity's aggressive response. The Vex sent a mocking message, calling Earth's threats empty boasting. Warlord Kreth appeared in his own broadcast, laughing at General Na's words. The humans think they can threaten the Vex Dominion? Let them come. Let them learn what real warriors can do. In his command center, watching Kreth's broadcast, Commander Sung smiled. He has no idea. None of them do. He turned to his staff. Execute Phase 1. Show them what human intelligence gathering can accomplish. Across Vex space, strange things began happening. Supply shipments arrived at the wrong locations. Communication systems experienced mysterious glitches. Navigation data became corrupted. It seemed like random accidents, minor annoyances. But it wasn't random. Every error, every glitch, every delay was precisely calculated. Humanity's intelligence network, built over decades of peaceful observation, was now being used for war. And the Vex had no idea how deeply human agents had penetrated their systems. The 72 hours began counting down. The Earth retaliation fleet assembled in orbit. 300 ships became 600, then 1,000, as the sealed facilities worked at maximum capacity. Each ship was crewed by humans who understood exactly what they were about to do. On the bridge of the Olive Branch, now redesignated as a tactical assault vessel, Captain Day looked at his crew. Lieutenant J at navigation, Dr. G at the science station, others at weapons, shields, communications. All of them had been diplomats. Now they were warriors. "Are we ready?" Day asked. "Yes, sir," they replied in unison. General Na's final message came with 1 hour remaining. It was broadcast on a single frequency, one she knew the Vex monitored. "Warlord Kreth, you asked what real warriors can do. You're about to find out. We didn't want this war, but since you've forced it upon us, we will fight it on our terms, with our rules. And you will learn why humanity survived the unification wars, not because we were the strongest, but because we were the smartest." The countdown reached 0. The Earth retaliation fleet vanished into faster-than-light travel. But they didn't head toward Terra Nova. They didn't head toward the Vex homeworld. They headed toward every Vex military installation simultaneously. Every base, every outpost, every supply depot. Humanity had been watching for decades. They knew where everything was. The war had begun. And it would be like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. The Vex command station at Sector 7 was the first to fall. It was a massive installation, home to 5,000 military personnel and equipped with enough weapons to destroy a small fleet. The Vex considered it impenetrable. Strike Commander Han led the Ghost Battalion through the station's ventilation system. His team moved in complete silence, their armor designed to absorb sensor scans. They had studied the station's layout for weeks, using data collected during peaceful trade missions. They knew every corridor, every security checkpoint, every guard rotation. "Remember," Han whispered to his team, "no civilian casualties. This is a military target only. Anyone not carrying a weapon is off limits." The Ghost Battalion reached the central power core. Rather than destroying it, they installed a device that would shut it down remotely. Then they moved to the command center. Vex officers sat at their stations monitoring displays, completely unaware that human soldiers were in the room with them. Han gave the signal. The lights went out. Emergency systems kicked in, but before the Vex could respond, the Ghost Battalion had already disabled every weapon, every communication array, and every defensive system. Within 3 minutes, the station was completely neutralized. When the lights came back on, the Vex officers found themselves surrounded. Commander Han stood at the center of the room, his weapon lowered. "This station is under human control. You are not prisoners. You are temporarily detained. Our forces will hold this position for exactly 6 hours, then we will leave. We will not harm you. We will not damage your personal belongings, but your military effectiveness here is over." A Vex officer started to reach for his sidearm. Han moved faster than the Vex thought possible, disarming him without injury. "Please don't," Han said quietly. "We don't want to hurt anyone, but we will defend ourselves if forced." The same scene played out across Vex space. Human forces struck 27 military targets simultaneously. Not one civilian was killed. Not one residential area was damaged. It was surgical, precise, and completely humiliating for the Vex military. Captain Yu commanded the dreadnought Reckoning in the Battle of Theta Station. The Vex had assembled a fleet of 60 warships to defend a critical supply hub. They expected a direct assault. They prepared for overwhelming force. Instead, the Reckoning and its support ships used tactics adapted from Earth's ancient naval warfare. They split into 3 groups, each attacking from a different angle. When the Vex fleet moved to engage one group, the others struck vulnerable targets. When the Vex ships regrouped, the human ships had already moved to new positions. "It's like fighting ghosts," a Vex captain reported to Warlord Kreth. "They don't engage us directly. They strike, disappear, and strike again from a different location. Our weapons are superior, but we can't hit them long enough to matter." Captain Yu watched her tactical display with satisfaction. The Vex had more ships, better armor, and stronger weapons, but they fought in predictable patterns, relying on brute strength rather than strategy. "Target their supply ships, not their warships," she ordered. "Without fuel and ammunition, those big guns are useless." The battle lasted for 8 hours. When it ended, the Vex fleet was forced to retreat. Not because they'd been destroyed, but because they literally couldn't continue fighting. Half their supply ships were disabled. Their fuel reserves were depleted. Their ammunition stores were exhausted, and the human fleet had lost only 2 ships. Back on Earth, Dr. Leah's medical nanobots were deployed in an unexpected way. A Vex military factory produced missiles used to bombard civilian targets. Rather than destroy the factory and kill the workers inside, human forces infiltrated the facility and released the nanobots. The microscopic machines spread through the factory, targeting only the missile assembly systems. They disabled electronics, corroded metal components, and rendered the machinery useless. Within hours, the factory was completely non-functional, but every worker walked out alive and unharmed. "This is wrong," one Vex factory supervisor told his manager. "They could have killed us all. We would have, if positions were reversed." But they chose not to. Why? The galaxy watched these battles with growing shock. The peaceful humans were winning, not through overwhelming force or superior weapons, but through tactics, intelligence, and surgical precision. Every battle was broadcast by human forces, showing exactly what they were doing and why. Dr. G stood before cameras on the Olive Branch, explaining humanity's approach to warfare. We understand that every Vex soldier is someone's child, someone's parent, someone's friend. We are not fighting Vex people. We are fighting the Vex military machine. We will dismantle that machine without becoming monsters ourselves." Her words reached across the galaxy. Some species applauded, others were confused. The Vex military leadership was furious. Warlord Kreth called an emergency meeting with his commanders. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "We have superior numbers, superior weapons, yet these humans are defeating us at every turn." One of his advisors, a young strategist named Commander Vex, spoke carefully. "Warlord, they're not just defeating us militarily. They're defeating us philosophically. Every battle they win without killing civilians, they prove their point. That strength and morality can coexist." "Nonsense," Kreth growled. "War is war. Victory is what matters." "But they are achieving victory," Commander Vex insisted. "And they're doing it while making us look barbaric. Every species in the galaxy is watching. They see us bombing evacuation sites. They see humans carefully avoiding civilian casualties. Who do you think the galaxy will support?" Kreth struck the table with his fist. "I don't care about support. I care about power." "Power without legitimacy is fragile," Commander Vex said quietly. "The humans understand this. We don't." General Na stood in the tactical center on Earth, monitoring every battle. Reports came in constantly. The strike on a Vex weapons depot had succeeded with 0 casualties. The raid on a communications hub had disabled enemy coordination without firing a single shot. The blockade of a military supply route had forced a Vex fleet to surrender without a battle. "Casualties?" Na asked. 17 humans injured, none seriously. 3 Vex soldiers injured during the Sector 7 operation when they chose to resist. All received immediate medical treatment from our forces. 0 deaths on either side today." Na allowed herself a small smile. "Good. That's how we do this. We prove that war doesn't require atrocity. That victory doesn't require becoming monsters." Admiral Tay joined her. "The Galactic Assembly has requested a meeting. Several species want to discuss the conflict. They're calling what we're doing civilized warfare." "Is there such a thing?" Na wondered aloud. "If there is, we're inventing it," Tay replied. On Terra Nova, Governor Mina watched human forces liberate her world. Vex occupation troops had been stationed there since the bombardment. They had expected to hold the planet indefinitely. They were wrong. Human special forces infiltrated the occupation zones using local knowledge provided by colonists. Rather than attacking, they surrounded Vex positions and simply waited. Cut off from resupply and reinforcement, facing an enemy that clearly could have killed them but chose not to, the Vex soldiers began surrendering in large groups. "We offer you safe passage back to Vex space," a human commander told the surrendering soldiers. "You will not be harmed. You will not be imprisoned. You attacked us, but we will not seek revenge against individual soldiers who were following orders." The Vex soldiers were confused. This wasn't how war was supposed to work. Where was the hatred? Where was the desire for revenge? Lieutenant J participated in the liberation of Terra Nova. He walked through the damaged cities, seeing the destruction the Vex bombardment had caused. He felt anger, but also something else: sadness. These Vex soldiers were young, many of them conscripts who had no choice in their deployment. "Are you okay?" Dr. G asked him. She was helping coordinate medical aid for colonists. "I keep thinking about what Professor Ho said," Jay replied, "about how we must choose who we want to be. It would be easy to hate these Vex soldiers, to want them to suffer, but that would make us into the thing we're fighting against. That's why General Na insisted on the rules of engagement," G said. "She remembers the unification wars. She remembers what happens when humans let hatred guide their actions. She's making sure we don't repeat those mistakes." Across Vex space, the pattern continued. Human forces struck military targets with devastating precision. They avoided civilian casualties almost fanatically. They broadcast every operation, showing the galaxy exactly what they were doing and why. It was warfare as performance, teaching a lesson with every battle. Warlord Kreth grew desperate. His military was being dismantled piece by piece. His reputation was suffering. Other species were questioning why the mighty Vex Dominion couldn't defeat these peaceful humans who refused to fight like proper warriors. In his command center, Kreth made a decision. If he couldn't win through military might, he would win through fear. If the humans wouldn't fight like proper warriors, he would force them to. He issued orders to his fleet. Forget military targets, forget rules, forget honor. If the humans want to protect civilians, we'll make that impossible. Prepare the planet-killer weapons. We strike at Earth itself. Let's see how noble and civilized they are when their homeworld is burning. Commander Vex approached him after the order was given. Warlord, this is madness. If we attack Earth with planet killers, we won't just lose this war. We'll lose everything. The entire galaxy will turn against us. They're already turning, Kreth snarled. Better to be feared than pitied. Better to be destroyed than humiliated. Humanity thinks they can fight a clean war? They think they can prove warfare can be civilized? I'll show them the truth. War is horror. War is destruction. And I'll make them remember that. The orders went out. 27 planet-killer weapons began their journey toward Earth. Weapons powerful enough to crack the planet's crust and boil its oceans. Weapons that would kill 10 billion humans in a matter of hours. On Earth, Commander Sung detected the launch within minutes. General, we have a crisis. The Vex are targeting Earth directly with planet killers. Time to impact. 18 hours. General Na felt her blood run cold. This was the nightmare scenario, the moment when everything they'd tried to prove would be tested. They had the capability to strike back, to glass the Vex homeworld in retaliation, to match destruction with destruction. But if they did that, what would they become? What would they have proven except that violence begets violence? She looked at Admiral Tay. Recall every ship, every asset. Tell me we have a way to stop those weapons without destroying the Vex homeworld. There might be, Tay said slowly, but it's risky, and we'll need perfect coordination across light years of space. Then make it happen, Na ordered. We've come this far fighting our way. We don't abandon our principles now, not when it matters most. The race against time began. Earth's survival hung in the balance, and the galaxy watched to see what humanity would do when faced with extinction. The emergency meeting took place across every communication channel on Earth. General Na stood at the center of a holographic display showing 27 planet-killer weapons moving toward Earth. Each one was a massive missile, capable of penetrating planetary shields and delivering enough explosive force to trigger earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and atmospheric collapse. 18 hours, Admiral Tay said grimly. That's all the time we have. We could strike back, one of the council members suggested. Glass the Vex homeworld before their weapons arrive, mutually assured destruction. No, General Na said firmly. That proves nothing except that we're capable of genocide. It makes us exactly what Warlord Kreth thinks we are. Exactly what we're trying to prove we're not. Lieutenant Jay had been working with Dr. Leah and a team of tactical specialists. Now he stepped forward. General, we might have a solution. It's risky, but it could work. He pulled up a tactical display. The planet killers are spread across light years, each traveling at different speeds, each approaching from different vectors. Stopping them individually is impossible. We don't have enough ships or time. But what if we didn't stop them individually? Dr. Leah continued the explanation. We've been developing an interdiction field technology, originally designed to protect ships from asteroid impacts during exploration missions. But if we modify it, scale it up massively, and coordinate the timing perfectly, we could create a cascading field that stops all 27 weapons simultaneously. How? Admiral Tay asked. By treating space itself as a medium, Leah explained. We place ships at precise locations along the weapon's flight paths. Each ship generates a field that slows objects passing through it. If we time it correctly, each field reinforces the next one, creating a cascading effect, like dominoes falling in sequence, but in reverse. Captain Day studied the tactical plan. This would require perfect positioning of ships across several light years, perfect timing down to microseconds, and perfect coordination between hundreds of vessels. One mistake, and the whole thing fails. And we'd be spreading our fleet thin, Admiral Tay added. If the Vex launch a conventional attack while we're executing this plan, we'd be vulnerable. General Na looked at the display for a long moment. Can it work? Yes, Jay said confidently, but only if everyone follows the plan exactly. No improvisation, no heroics, pure precision. Then we do it, Na decided. Recall every ship. Pull back from all offensive operations. Focus everything on saving Earth. Captain Yu received her orders aboard the Reckoning. She was to position her ship at coordinates deep in space, precisely 3 light hours from Earth. There, she would wait for the exact microsecond to activate her interdiction field. Understood, she reported. We'll be in position. Strike Commander Han pulled the Ghost Battalion back from a Vex military base they were about to assault. His soldiers were confused. Sir, we have them surrounded. Why are we leaving? Because Earth needs us more, Han replied. We've proven we can fight. Now we need to prove we can save. Across human space, every ship moved into position. The coordination was extraordinary. Ships that had been fighting battles light years apart now worked together with perfect synchronization. The Earth Retaliation Fleet became a single entity, focused on one purpose. On Earth, people watched the countdown. 18 hours became 12. 12 became 6. Parents held their children. Lovers embraced. Strangers became friends. If these were humanity's final hours, they would face them together. But most people didn't panic. They watched their military working with absolute precision. They watched General Na giving calm orders. They watched Admiral Tay coordinating hundreds of ships. They had faith in the people protecting them. At the Galactic Assembly, representatives of dozens of species gathered to watch. Some hoped humanity would succeed. Others secretly hoped they would fail, viewing human moral superiority as annoying. All of them understood they were witnessing something historic. Ambassador Hana stood before them. What you're about to see is humanity's answer to extinction, not with violence, not with revenge, but with skill, coordination, and the absolute refusal to become the monsters others expect us to be. The Vex homeworld was in chaos. News of the planet-killer attack had leaked. Some Vex celebrated, seeing it as a return to their warrior traditions. Others were horrified. Commander Vex confronted Warlord Kreth directly. "You've condemned us all," Vex said, "even if the weapons destroy Earth. Do you think the galaxy will let us survive? We'll be hunted to extinction. Every species will unite against us." "Then we'll die as warriors," Kreth replied stubbornly. "Better than dying as weaklings." "You don't understand," Vex said desperately. "The humans have shown us something we've never seen before. Strength with mercy, power with restraint. They're teaching the entire galaxy a new way to think about warfare. And you're proving their point by attacking civilians while they refuse to." But Kreth wouldn't listen. He watched his tactical display, waiting for his weapons to reach Earth. The final hour arrived. Every human ship was in position. On the bridge of the Olive Branch, Captain Day watched his countdown timer. Dr. G sat at her station, ready to monitor the interdiction field. Lieutenant J had his hands on the controls, waiting for the exact microsecond to activate. "All ships report ready," Admiral Tay announced from Earth. "General, we're go for execution." General Na took a deep breath. She thought about her friends who died in the Unification Wars. She thought about the 15,000 civilians killed on Terra Nova. She thought about 10 billion people on Earth, waiting to see if they would survive. "Execute," she ordered. Across several light years of space, hundreds of ships activated their interdiction fields simultaneously. The timing had to be perfect. If one ship activated too early or too late, the cascading effect would fail. The planet-killer weapons hit the first field. They slowed slightly, then the second field, slowed more, then the third, the fourth, the fifth. Each field reinforced by the previous one, each building on the others. The weapons that had been traveling at a significant fraction of light speed began to decelerate rapidly. "It's working," Dr. Leah reported from her monitoring station on Earth. "The cascade is holding." But then something went wrong. One of the weapons had been launched at a slightly different velocity than the others. It was going to reach the interdiction zone 3 milliseconds early. 3 milliseconds didn't sound like much, but at these speeds and precision levels, it was enough to disrupt the entire cascade. Lieutenant J saw the problem instantly. "Captain, Weapon 17 is off sync. If it hits our field early, the whole system collapses." Captain Day made a split-second decision. "Helm, move us into intercept position. We'll take the hit." "Sir, that will destroy us," the helmsman protested. "Maybe," Day replied calmly. "But if we don't, Earth dies. Move now." The olive branch accelerated, pushing its engines beyond safe limits. Dr. G calculated the trajectory. "We can't stop it, but we can deflect it, change its course just enough to sync with the other weapons." "Do it," Day ordered. The ship moved directly into the path of the planet killer. At the last possible moment, it fired every tractor beam and deflector it had. The weapon's course shifted. Just barely. Just enough. It continued on the adjusted trajectory, now perfectly aligned with the cascade. The olive branch survived, but barely. Half its systems were destroyed by the stress. But the cascade held. All 27 weapons slowed, stopped, and hung motionless in space, neutralized. On Earth, the crowds erupted in celebration. They had survived. Not through revenge, not through matching destruction with destruction, but through skill and coordination and refusing to compromise their principles. Ambassador Hana activated the broadcast system. Her message would reach every corner of known space. "This is Earth's final message, to the Vex Dominion, to the Galactic Assembly, to every species watching." She paused, letting the weight of the moment settle. "Warlord Kreth attacked us because he thought peace made us weak. He thought 100 years without war meant we'd forgotten how to fight. He was wrong. We remembered every lesson, perfected every tactic, and became better warriors in peace than we ever were in war." The image shifted to show the neutralized planet killers hanging in space. "But here's what you really didn't understand. We're not peaceful because we're weak. We're peaceful because we're strong enough to choose peace. Even now, with your fleet in range, we choose mercy over massacre. We've defeated your military. We could end your civilization. We won't." General Na appeared beside Hana. "Instead, we offer the same thing we've always offered. Peace, real peace. Not surrender, not subjugation. Partnership. We've shown you the warrior side of humanity you forced us to reveal. Now we offer you the chance to learn about the side we prefer. The side that builds instead of destroys, that creates instead of conquers, that chooses tomorrow over yesterday." Admiral Tay joined them. "The choice is yours. But know this, if you ever threaten peace again, ours or anyone else's, you now know exactly what you'll face. We've tasted peace. You've now seen the other side of humanity. Choose wisely." On the Vex homeworld, Commander Vex watched the broadcast with tears in his eyes. Around him, other Vex were crying too. Not from sadness, but from shame. They had been so certain of their strength, so confident in their warrior traditions. And these peaceful humans had defeated them while also showing them a better way. Warlord Kreth sat alone in his command chamber, staring at the display showing his neutralized weapons. His military was in ruins. His strategy had failed. His entire worldview had been proven wrong. He could order one final attack, throw everything he had left at Earth in a suicidal assault. But what would that prove? That he was stubborn? That he preferred destruction to admitting error? He thought about Commander Vex's words, about legitimacy and power, about the difference between being feared and being respected. Slowly, reluctantly, he activated a communication channel to Earth. "This is Warlord Kreth. I request negotiations." The response came from General Na. "Request accepted. We will meet on neutral ground. Come in peace, and you will be treated with respect. Come with treachery, and you will learn why that's a mistake. Your choice." The negotiations took place on a space station maintained by the Galactic Assembly. Warlord Kreth arrived expecting humiliation. Instead, he was treated as an equal. The humans didn't gloat. They didn't demand surrender. They simply talked about building a better future. "You could have destroyed us," Kreth said to General Na during a break in negotiations. "Why didn't you?" "Because destroying you wouldn't have solved anything," Na replied. "It would just have created the next conflict, the next war. We've been fighting wars for thousands of years. We finally learned that winning a war doesn't mean much if you lose the peace that follows." "I don't understand your species," Kreth admitted. "Neither do we. Sometimes," Na said with a small smile. "We're complicated, capable of terrible violence and beautiful compassion. Both are real, both are true. The question is which side we choose to feed." The treaty was signed 3 weeks later. The Vex withdrew from all conquered territories. They agreed to join the Galactic Security Council, working with Earth to maintain peace. Most surprisingly, they requested human advisors to help reform their military traditions. "Teach us how you do it," Commander Vex asked Admiral Tay. "How you fight without losing your humanity." "It's not easy," Tay replied honestly. "Every day, every battle, we have to make hard choices. We have to remember that the enemy soldiers are people too. We have to hold ourselves to standards that our enemies don't. It's exhausting, it's frustrating, but it's necessary." Captain Day returned to the Olive Branch, now being repaired after its near destruction. The ship would fly again, carrying both diplomatic missions and military readiness. The galaxy now understood that the name was both promise and warning. Lieutenant Jay received a promotion and a medal for his work in stopping the planet killers. At the ceremony, he said, "I didn't do anything special. I just did my job. That's what all of us did. Our job is to protect humanity, and we do it the best way we know how." Dr. G went back to her original work, studying alien biology. But now she also trained military medical officers, teaching them how to save lives even in the middle of war. "Every life matters," she told her students. "Even enemy lives, especially enemy lives. Because how we treat our enemies defines who we are." On Terra Nova, Governor Mina oversaw the rebuilding. The Vex provided resources and labor as part of the treaty. Former enemies worked together to repair the damage. A memorial was built for the 15,000 who died, with a simple inscription, "They died for peace. We live to honor their sacrifice." The Galactic Assembly offered Earth a permanent seat on the Security Council. Ambassador Hana accepted with conditions. "We'll protect the peace. But we'll never forget that we were forced to become warriors again, and neither should you. Peace maintained through ignorance is fragile. Peace maintained through strength and wisdom lasts." General Na retired for the second and final time. She spent her remaining years teaching at the Military Ethics Academy, training officers who understood both the necessity of strength and the importance of restraint. Her final lesson to her students was simple. War is sometimes necessary, but it should never be easy. The moment you enjoy fighting, the moment you forget the cost, you've lost something essential. Stay human, even in war, especially in war. Years later, Captain Day stood on the bridge of the Olive Branch on a new diplomatic mission. They were carrying art and music again, this time to a species that had just emerged onto the galactic stage. Young Lieutenant Min stood beside him, eager and nervous. "Captain, do you think we'll always have to be ready for war?" Min asked. Day looked out at the stars, thinking about everything that had happened. The peace, the war, the choices that had defined humanity's path. "I hope not," he said honestly, "but hope isn't a strategy. We'll pursue peace with everything we have. We'll extend hands in friendship. We'll offer cooperation and partnership. And if that's rejected, if someone mistakes our kindness for weakness, we'll remind them why that's a mistake." "The other side of humanity," Min said quietly. "Yes," Day agreed. "We're both. The hand extended in friendship and the fist that defends it, the artist and the warrior, the dreamer and the protector. We are all of these things, and we choose every day which side to show the galaxy." The ship continued on its journey, carrying humanity's message into the unknown. A message of peace backed by strength, of mercy supported by power, of hope defended by determination. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity was peaceful, but peaceful didn't mean weak. It meant strong enough to choose peace, and if forced to show the other side, strong enough to win while staying true to their principles. Earth's final message had been delivered, not just with words, but with actions. And the galaxy would remember it for generations to come. The stars shone on, beautiful and eternal. And humanity moved among them, forever both warrior and poet, forever choosing to be better than their worst impulses, forever proving that strength and compassion could walk hand in hand. They had tasted peace. They had shown the other side when necessary. And they had proven that both could coexist within the human heart.